So, the comic book industry has been dying for many years now, and we've been seeing this as they just continue to make themselves collapse. Well, there's a rumor going around that they might be sold off to somebody who's looking to buy them from AT&T and WarnerMedia, and you know if they get the money, they'll go for it. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So it seems that there is word going around. Now, of course, it's currently a rumor, but apparently there's word going around from Bleeding Cool about a scoop of DC Comics buyout in the works from fans with lots of money, and we're going to get into who the fans could be that could be trying to buy DC from WarnerMedia and AT&T. We've been hearing for a while now that AT&T, well, they want to, end DC Comics. Because what's important to them? It's not the comics and the publishing. What's actually been important to them, and they've stated this themselves, that what's actually important is the shows. Because the movies, the TV shows they can make off of characters like Batman, because you can see Batman basically everywhere, well, that's what they care about. They don't care about the comics. So, axing them at this point, they wouldn't care if they did, because like I said, that's not their priority. HBO Max is their priority. So, with them focusing on shows, why would they care about comics? Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially considering that they've said that themselves in the past. So, we also know about the Bloodbath, because there's been a lot of layoffs that have gone on at DC Comics because of the industry collapsing. And the only thing that AT&T and WarnerMedia really care about when it comes to DC Comics is the money it can make. They don't care about what happens to the characters. They don't care about the stories. They don't care about that when it comes to the comics. They care about what money it can reel in. And if it doesn't reel in money, well, you better believe they'll axe it. I mean, we've seen layoffs go all around the board for WarnerMedia. So, this is no different than the usual. Jim Lee himself, the president of DC Comics, came out to state that, oh, yeah, there will be like 84 more years of publishing. Yeah. If DC Comics continues to even publish comics, there's no way that it's going to be housed in AT&T and WarnerMedia. That is just not possible. Not at the direction it's heading. There's no way. I mean, it could still live on for 84 years, but don't expect it to be under AT&T and WarnerMedia. There's no way at this rate that it's going to happen. It's just not going to happen, especially with AT&T and WarnerMedia not caring about comics. There's just no way. So looking at this article, DC Comics has had one hell of a rough year. They fired their publisher, 2 editors-in-chief, and many staffers who had been at the company for decades, with more expected. Oh, yeah. Those young adult novels. That's like definitely not going to make them any money at all. I mean, seriously, I Am Not Starfire is like one of the biggest jokes ever. It's so terrible. That's not going to sell. There's no way that's going to sell. Oh, man. You want to talk about taking the internet by storm as making DC a laughingstock? Yeah, that was a great way to do it. All as a result of the AT&T buyout of Warner's, the pandemic, and cuts across the board. But Bleeding Cool understands that it was former DC president Diane Nelson. Oh, God. Now, let me tell you about Diane Nelson. Diane Nelson, huge SJW in the industry. I mean, she was awful for DC. Good thing she's gone because, I want to talk about a real problem. Diane Nelson was awful. Her decisions were terrible. Decision to move DC Comics from relatively expensive offices in Manhattan to insanely expensive offices in Burbank. Yeah, that would be a real problem, especially when you're losing money because your current modern day comics are so bad that nobody wants to buy them and they rot on shelves. Yeah, real bad decision. That was the biggest factor in the decision. The move from coast to coast succeeded in making DC work better as a part of Warner's as a whole, with many projects spinning out of the increased proximity, but it also brought greater financial pressure on every project, including the publication of comic books. And that proximity was entirely absent this year, with Warner's continuing to work remotely, but that work still has to justify the cost of that empty building. Yeah, and with everything being closed down, how did that really turn out? This is what I mean. Bad financial decision led to worse issues in terms of their financial position. But this is still all rumor and hearsay from prominent people, sure, but still, because I have also heard that it is all guns blazing at DC Comics right now. From Future State to Infinite Frontier, sales per title are up. way up, the line is smaller. With fewer editorial staff, it has to be. But per title, per allocated desk space in that empty Burbank building, profitability is up. It also helps that some rather pricey exclusive creator deals are also a thing of the past as well. There is some suspicion that everything is resting on the Infinite Frontier performance as to whether or not DC Comics continues to have a serialized print comic publishing line. But as it stands, things are very good. Better than they have been at DC for some time with their new diversity pushes. They have also seen positive mainstream press they have sought for years as well. I don't know about that. Like I said, I am not Starfire. Yeah, that's I don't know about that being positive. However, very good for comics may not be very good for Warners, who have to put the space and expenses allocated to comic books up against the allocated for TV, games, movies, and more in terms of profitability. Good luck with profitability. If you had to ask me on that one, the comics are making money, but are they making enough money to justify the space and resources allocated to them, even if they are not using them? Oh, of course not. Are they, like, seriously, that question right there, are they making enough to justify the space and resources? No. Oh, man, what kind of a question is that? No, of course they're not. And they talk about here about how they're betting on Infinite Frontier to help save DC. Yeah, that's like trying to take two sticks under the ocean and trying to start a fire with them. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Last year, a number of high-rolling individuals were given tours of DC Comics Burbank with AT&T Warner's officials, and as a result, there may be some new options, because Bleeding Cool has been made aware of plans by big-time DC Comics fans with access to a lot of money, many millions from across many businesses. Now, some people have probably been questioning, who could this be? And, there are a lot of thoughts out there on who it could be, but got to give a shout out to Ethan Van Sciver. He had a really good point here on who it might be, and this article itself, actually kind of goes into it. So, they kind of hint at who it might be, but they don't directly tell you. But it's pretty obvious by the hint they gave away here. And the term fans is a very big one to throw in there. So, like I said, you're probably wondering who. So, let's look at this. A collaboration of some of the biggest cheeses who, with a combination of personal wealth and raised capital, are making an approach to AT&T, not to buy DC Comics outright from AT&T Warners, not to touch the movies, the TV, the games, or the merchandise, but solely the rights and ownership of the comic book side of the publisher. Now, keep in mind, you will still have AT&T and WarnerMedia if they sell DC Comics. You will still have them own the characters like Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Green Lantern. They'll own all that. But they'll basically just be, giving the comics rights to be able to make them to somebody else. So AT&T WarnerMedia will still own the characters. They'll still have the trademark. It's just, whoever would get DC Comics would be able to make comics of their characters. Like, you get what I mean. So, continuing to be able to create and publish DC Comics line as they would like. Let Warners do the movies and TV shows, but take all the cumbersome work of actually publishing comic books off their hands, while Warners are free to adapt as they wish. Because, look, like I said, which, I have to bring this point up. That's all they care about. Because, AT&T, WarnerMedia, since they'd still have the trademark, they'd still be able to make the movies and the shows with the DC characters because they'd still own the rights to them. They would have the trademark. Now, they don't care about comics because they feel that, comic books are just not the way that people would want to get their entertainment. They feel like making TV shows and movies is the way to go. And this is like the same situation with Viacom CBS, which they were going to sell Simon & Schuster. And the reason why they said that they were doing this was the same reason that AT&T and WarnerMedia have basically been like, well, we don't care for comics, because Viacom CBS feels like they just can't make adaptations of these books into shows. Because of that, well, they don't care. So what that means is that they're going to take the axe of things and they're just going to start cutting. And as long as they can make money off selling all of that, well, then they're fine with it. And that's the same thing with AT&T WarnerMedia. As long as they can just chop it all off, well, they can still have the shows and they can still have the movies, and they don't have to worry about publishing comics because that's not what's important to them anymore. But now, as to who it could be that might try to buy it, well, listen to this, and you might get an idea if you don't already know. If you could be a member of this group, you have probably already been approached. People who can bring or can raise a minimum of 8 figures apiece, who have both an Action Comics #1 and Detective Comics issue 27 to spare. Now, who has that? Steve Jeppy. Who is Steve Jeppy? Well, Diamond Distribution, owner of that. So, Steve Jeppy has been someone who's been wanting to do this for a long time. And not only that, but the reason why this statement right here tells you that it's Steve Jeppy is because he is someone who has the biggest collection of, like, just rare comics. Like, he owns the comic book museum in Boston, where they have just these huge and beautiful representations of comics. I mean, it is a masterpiece to look at. But this is why it tells you that. Now, the other person that could be going for DC, which I got to give a shout out to Ethan Van Sciver again, he was told that it could be Robert Kirkman. Now, if you wonder who that is, well, he is the creator of The Walking Dead. And he has the finances, so he could actually be someone to be able to do this as well. And people are coming in because they know the DC Comics is going to get axed. That's why you're seeing this now, is because they know that AT&T and WarnerMedia, they don't care about comics. So they're going to chop it. And, people may not like the sound of that, but, that's where we're getting at this point, where AT&T and Papa Warner are about to take that axe and they're about to go slash it because, that's how much they care about comics, because they just don't, So that's why you're seeing these people jump in there to try to buy DC. We're going to keep an eye on this and see where this goes. But yeah, this is definitely interesting for sure. But anyways, let me know what you think about this entire situation down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and make sure you were still subscribed because YouTube is unsubscribing people from all their favorite channels. So make sure you were still subscribed to all your favorite channels. Hit the video with a like, and also be sure to share the video on social media. Spread the word to get it out there. It's greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the channel a lot. Also, be sure to follow me on Discord. We have a wonderful community there. Not only that, but it will keep you up to date on when the newest videos will be released, as well as any other upcoming events in the near future. So be sure to follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.